I bet it would whip a nasty donut. Hello, people on the interwebs. It's your favorite shop-dwelling Sarah here with an electric car review. This is the first electric car I have ever reviewed, and you have requested that I review an EV so many times I can't even count now. So here you go. It's a 2021 Volkswagen ID.4 First Edition. And just in case you were wondering, the First Edition, they're completely sold out. So this is a car that you can't buy. But the rest of them you can, so don't worry. I love that this is something entirely brand new, yet the front end is unmistakably Volkswagen when you see that grille and headlight shape, and obviously with the big VW logo in the center. I like the way this looks. If you notice down here, this plastic actually is like a bluish gray pearl. It's pretty. I think the headlights have to be one of my favorite parts though. It has this little futuristic looking egg basket that goes around the LED projector and these weird little gloss black dots that are in front of it. This one being the First Edition, it comes with gloss black mirror caps and these little badges on the side that say First. These First Editions come with a set of 20x8 machine face wheels, and the machine facing has this weird pearl rainbow effect to it. It's kind of interesting, actually. They're wrapped in a 235/50 Bridgestone Altenza all-season tire, and the brakes up front, it's a 13.4-inch rotor with a dual piston caliper. It's a respectable size rotor for this thing that's not much bigger than a Golf. However, in the rear, it has a set of 11-inch drum brakes because of engineering reasons that are above my level of comprehension. EV stuff. There's that pearl effect. That's so pretty. And also the center caps are gloss black and white. That's the new VW logo. And I like the fact that even though this is an EV, they're still keeping it OG with the lug studs. It has a unibrow taillight. Big fan of that. As far as the back end goes, open. Out back, there is a satchel that has your charging cable for 110 volts in here, which we'll get to that later. It's got a good sized back end. You can fit quite a bit of stuff back here. It is bigger than a Golf, but it's not a very large vehicle. I'm sure someone is gonna wonder the exact measurements, and that's what the Volkswagen website is for. Look, it's a compartment inside a compartment. How fun is that? As far as the interior goes, this is the First Edition. Notice everything in here is accented in an off-white. I absolutely love this. I think it makes it look more future-like. The First Edition comes with a play and a pause button for the accelerator and brake. That is so cute. When I was little, I watched a show called Beyond 2000. It showcased stuff from the future. And up until today, I have just been disappointed that where are all the future cars? The stuff that we saw way back then of what cars around now would be like. This is the first car that makes me feel like I'm in a future car. I haven't sat back here yet. Wow, the acoustics. The acoustics are weird. It is so pretty in here, especially with this giant ass hole in the roof. This roof is insane. This is so... I've never been impressed by sunroofs before. This is the first sunroof that's impressive. And don't worry, I didn't forget about the bolstering test. We have to do a bolstering test. Not that great a bolstering. It's okay though, because these seats look like robot bees would live in them. This LED map light looks like Wall-E's face. I love that there's still subtle details in here that tell you it's a Volkswagen, like this little plastic grill up by the map lights and down here by your cup holders. I thought this was kind of strange. There's only 2 buttons for the windows. When you want to put the rear windows down, you actually have to tap rear and then it lights up and you can put your back windows down. Plenty of legroom back here. That's not an issue. Oh, there's even vents down here by the speakers. Meme avec des sacs, goofballs evolves. The goofballs have evolved. Normally at this point in the video, I will do a rev of the engine so you can hear it, but this doesn't have an engine, it has a motor. However, that doesn't mean it doesn't make sounds. This does technically have a start button on the side of the steering column, but it's not really necessary. You just sit in the seat and put it in drive and you can go. It sounds like the Jetsons when you have it in reverse. Electric cars can sound cool in their own way, and I like the fact that it makes it sound like a spaceship and not like a gasoline engine, because that's just stupid. I want my electric car to sound like a spaceship, not a Honda or a Chevy. 2 USB-C charge ports. This thing better have charge port. It is a charge port with wheels. For $39,000 before government tax incentives, this has all the tech you need. All of it. All of the tech that is required, this has it. Pleased. Also, the seats are heated as well as the steering wheel is heated, but what's even more fun, if you go to Air Care, it actually has a built-in filtration system that will remove any farts from the cabin of the vehicle. And you can actually watch the farts leaving the vehicle in this process. The infotainment screen itself, it took a second for me to figure out how this thing works. There's actually quite a bit packed in here, but I love the graphics that they use and the sounds it makes. And there's all kinds of fun stuff in here, like obviously ambient lights that have strange names like Eternity, Desire, Euphoria, Vitality. Like, who came up with this stuff? One of my favorite things though is when you go to leave the vehicle, it says goodbye to you in robot voice. In the name of science, it is now time to give this thing the e-beans. It does have drive modes. If you select this little spot right here by the hazard button, by touching it, and you have multiple modes like eco and comfort and sport, as well as custom, where you can configure it yourself. I'm gonna have it in sport, and then just mash on the play button, let this thing eat. Ready? Go. Oop. That little jolt of torque right away gets me every time. It's so weird. Like, that's good. I feel like numbers alone don't do justice. It feels quicker than 0 to 60 in 7 seconds and change when you're driving it around. Oh, what's under here? That's a heavy hood. What is this? Weird. Look at the underside of this hood. Where the latch is at. That's crazy. It's like a bow. So there's actually stuff up here. I thought there would be a frunk. Hello, and welcome to Garage Science with Sarah. Under the hood of this 2021 Volkswagen ID.4 First Edition is an AC permanent magnet synchronous motor that produces 201 horsepower at yes RPM and 228 pound-feet of torque at all of the RPM, all the way up to 16,000. I was really expecting to see a frunk up here, but instead there's a bunch of plastic nonsense. There's the AC condenser and a radiator because yes, this thing has coolant. There is the expansion tank right there, and it's got a strut tower bar. I have no idea why I opened the hood on this thing because the electric motor is actually in the rear on these rear-wheel drive ID.4s. Okay, it's time to regenerate some electricity. No one behind me? Ready? Ooh, that felt weird, and I think I just killed a lizard. I'm so sorry, lizard. A lizard ran out in front of me when I did that. I feel tingly. I think that electricity went into me. Hello, I'm back. It's now time to stare at a battery. Come stare at a battery with me. That little cube you see right there? Yeah, this thing's got a tow package. It'll actually tow 2,700 pounds in this rear wheel drive configuration. I never thought I would actually see this on a vehicle. It has a plastic anti-sway bar end link. Plastic suspension components, are you serious? It does look like a durable piece of plastic. It's got ASMR goodies on the side too. It also has a fairly rugged looking plastic shin guard on the spring bucket. The knuckle and upper control arm are made out of forged aluminum, but everything else is steel. And that up there is the motor. It is rear wheel drive with a rear mounted motor. It's super interesting looking up there. You can see the axle goes all the way past to the single speed gearbox. And that is a coolant hose, actually. Look at that. This thing has coolant. I guess Volkswagen isn't going to give you an access door to change your motor oil. There's no oil. It was a joke. It was a really bad joke. All right, moving on. And there it is, the underside of the ID.4. I have actually never seen the underside of an EV before until today. That battery you see weighs 1,087 pounds. It's like a giant skateboard. The great thing about electric vehicles though is all the weight is located down low, which makes it handle incredible. And on top of that, you can make the weight distribution whatever you want essentially because the battery weighs so much. So this has a near 50-50 perfect weight distribution. And I know some of you are gonna ask, this down here, yeah, that's the shield, not the battery. It's stainless steel and it is thick, boy. Look at that. I'd like to see Demolition Ranch test this thing and see how tough it is. And because this one is the first edition, it does not have all-wheel drive, but there is one that will be coming later this year that does have all-wheel drive. So you can see the forged aluminum knuckle up front here has a big hole in the center to accept an axle. The lower control arm on this McPherson strut style suspension is stamped steel. Little plastic winglet on the bottom. Oh wow, you can see inside there. It's a big empty cavity. That was fun having an EV on the lift for the first time. I like it. So, about this satchel. Now this is only covering people that don't have access to level 2 or higher charging capabilities or like the DC rapid charge that Electrify America provides. If you are stuck with nothing but a 110 regular wall outlet here in America and you need to charge your ID.4 using this little plug right here, it takes 50 hours to charge this. Oh yeah, and fun Easter egg, the entire bottom of your windshield is a giant LED charge light that shows you the progress of the battery charge. There is, however, a solution to that. If you have access to a 240 volt outlet for a dryer, well, then it only takes 7.5 hours to charge, which is more reasonable. You can do that overnight, and you could always have an electrician put that in. But what about if you live in an apartment or somewhere that's not an option? You're kind of screwed. This thing is surprisingly fun to drive on twisty roads. I mean, it has almost perfect weight distribution and all that weight is down low. This isn't even meant to be a performance vehicle and it's a lot of fun, especially being rear wheel drive. If you go on some sandy or slippery asphalt, you can feel the back end want to kick out just a tiny bit. It corrects itself, but it's still fun. I can definitely get on board with an electric car because the driving experience is great. This is a lot of fun, and I can only imagine how good a fast electric car or a performance electric car will be. Wow, suspension's nice too. Soaks up harsh bumps nicely. It's fun when you switch the drive selector over into the B mode, which is regenerative. So as soon as you let off the throttle, you can feel it start slowing down instantly, and that helps keep your battery topped off. Now this is the only electric car I've ever driven, but I was told that some electric cars have what's called one pedal driving, which is hard for me to wrap my head around because I've never experienced it before. But it kind of makes sense now, kind of how this is in the B mode, because as soon as you let off the play button, it starts slowing down quite drastically. So people that say electric cars are taking the enjoyment out of driving and they're not really for enthusiasts have never driven an electric car. Wow, this is good. This is really good. I'm pleased. Electric cars are definitely for enthusiasts too, but there's one massive problem. But first, a brief intermission. I must show you something that blew my mind. The turning radius on this thing, because it has a centerline mounted steering rack, because there's really nothing up front obstructing you from being able to do that. So watch. Almost pivoting on that inner back wheel. This is so wild. And it's rear wheel drive. If you could disable the traction control, I bet it would whip a nasty donut. No, it won't let me. Come on, try, you know you want to have fun. I can't wait till I start making performance electric vehicles that are affordable. Yeah. Anyway, back to what I was saying. This is the issue I see. If you live out in the middle of nowhere, or if you don't live in a city that has ample amount of fast charging stations everywhere or along a major interstate, you're gonna have to have fast charging capabilities at your house. Or maybe you just only drive your vehicle every couple days. I don't really think these are huge issues, but they are things you'll have to get used to with electric cars. And until our nation's electrical grid is up to speed to handle everyone fast charging their car at the same time, I think we're gonna have a little bit of growing pains to go through. I don't know. I see a bright future for electric cars because they are definitely way more fun to drive in some aspects than internal combustion engines, especially as just a normal commuter car like this. This thing is an absolute blast to drive in contrast to just a random Volkswagen crossover of some sort with a gasoline engine. Sorry, Volkswagen, but it's just true. This thing is way more fun. Normally, this is the part where I share the fuel economy of a vehicle, but no. So on the screen is displayed the miles per gallon E, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I think it makes more sense to just show how many miles per kilowatt hour, which this car does show you on the screen. That is a more useful way of measuring efficiency, I think. But yeah, I don't know. This thing definitely changed my mind on electric cars, and I'm really excited for what the future has to come. This is so fitting that everything is green out here now. We got all this rain, and I'm reviewing a car that is green. Well, it's white, but never mind. If you guys never seen one of my car reviews before, I have multiple categories to rate and assess them. Starting with the bean score. There's a rating of 1 to 5 beans based on the feeling you get in your gut when you give it the beans. And this 2021 Volkswagen ID.4 is getting a rating of 1.2 beans. This thing feels quicker than it looks on paper, especially when you're on the roll and you punch it coming out of a corner. There's tons of grunt everywhere because it makes peak torque all the time, which is fun. Next is the cookie score. It is a rating of 1 to 5 cookies based on what you get for what you spend. And this ID.4 First Edition is getting a rating of 4.7 cookies. I feel this thing is excellent value because there's still massive tax incentives you can get on electric cars on top of buying this thing, so it makes it reasonably affordable. And on the inside, it feels like you're in a spaceship, and the tech is on point. It's smart feeling. Everything it does is intuitive. It looks good. The lighting is nice. The driving experience is nice. I can't complain. Lastly though is the penguin score. It is a rating of 1 to 5 penguins based on how much I personally like a vehicle. And the ID.4 is getting a rating of 4.7 penguins. I like this thing a lot. It has grown on me a ton, and I'm kind of sad to have to give it back. I had a lot of fun with it. What I'm more intrigued by is the potential of the ID.4, which is slightly smaller, and I heard there might be a high performance version of that potentially in the works. If that is true, that would be up my alley. An electric hot hatch that looks like a GTI. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this review, and I will see you soon with another. Bye. That was a butterfly.